Imagine a world swallowed by ice, a relentless deep freeze that lasted for millennia. This wasn't just cold, it was humanity's closest brush with extinction. Our ancestors, stripped bare, faced blizzards that killed in minutes, predators that stalked every shadow, and an unforgiving landscape where nothing grew. Life was a fragile thread, constantly threatened. Yet, against all odds, they persevered. Your very existence is a testament to their miraculous survival. So how did they do it? And would you have made it through the deadliest winter in history? For hundreds of thousands of years, our world was imprisoned beneath colossal sheets of ice. This wasn't a temporary chill, but a planetary deep freeze, a cataclysmic shift that transformed continents and oceans. Vast glaciers, miles thick, scraped across the land, sculpting mountains and carving valleys, their frozen fingers reaching down from the poles. Sea levels plummeted, exposing land bridges that connected continents, allowing our ancestors to migrate across previously impassable oceans. The air itself was thin, sharp, and constantly biting, carrying with it the scent of snow and the promise of frostbite. Blizzards weren't just weather events, they were existential threats. Winds howled with the force of 1,000 banshees, carrying snow so dense it could strip the breath from your lungs and blind you within steps of your cave mouth. A momentary lapse of judgment, a journey taken too far from shelter, could mean a swift, frozen end. Survival meant an intimate, brutal knowledge of the environment. Every cloud pattern, every shift in wind direction, every animal track became a life or death prophecy. The world was a canvas of white and gray, painted with the stark realities of survival, where the sun was a distant, often obscured, memory of warmth. Day bled into night with little distinction, marked only by the shifting threats and the growing cold. This was the stage where humanity faced its ultimate test.
The Ice Age wasn't just about the cold, it was about the colossal, terrifying creatures that roamed the frozen plains and dense forests. These were not the docile animals we know today. The land was a brutal arena, dominated by monstrous beasts, each perfectly adapted to hunt and kill. Saber-toothed cats, with their dagger-like canines, ambushed their prey with terrifying efficiency. Their jaws could crush bone, and their powerful bodies could bring down even the largest herbivores. Imagine a lone hunter, armed only with sharpened stone, encountering one of these apex predators in the dim light of a frozen dawn. Then there were the cave bears, towering masses of muscle and fur, easily twice the size of modern grizzlies. These behemoths could crush a human skull with a single swipe of their paw, and their roar echoed through the caves they claimed as their own. To stumble upon a cave bear's den was to sign one's death warrant. And as dusk fell, a new terror emerged: dire wolves. These were no ordinary wolves. Larger, stronger, and more relentless, they hunted in highly organized packs, their mournful howls piercing the frozen night. A pack of dire wolves could run down even the swiftest prey, and a human, alone or in a small group, stood little chance against their coordinated assault. Every rustle in the undergrowth, every distant snarl, every shadow held the potential for a swift, brutal end. Humans were not at the top of the food chain. They were merely another item on the menu for these ancient, formidable hunters. Consider a day in the life of a young hunter named Kale, perhaps 15 years old but looking closer to 30 due to the harshness. The sun, a pale, reluctant disk, barely touched the horizon. Hunger gnawed at his gut, a constant companion. His people, a small band of fewer than 20, huddled in a shallow cave near what is now the Rhone Valley. They hadn't eaten properly in days. The last mammoth kill had sustained them for weeks, but now the stores were gone and the herds had moved on. Kale, accompanied by his elder, Thorn, prepared for the hunt. Their weapons were rudimentary: a spear tipped with meticulously flaked flint, a few throwing rocks, and their wits. Stepping out, the biting wind immediately assaulted their exposed skin. Every breath was a struggle, turning to icy mist. The snow crunched underfoot, a symphony of warning to any nearby prey. Thorn, his face etched with countless hardships, led the way, his eyes scanning the endless white expanse for tracks. A single misstep, a broken ankle, and both their lives would be forfeit. The cold wasn't just uncomfortable, it was a slow, creeping enemy, numbing their fingers and toes, threatening frostbite with every passing hour. Every calorie expended on the hunt had to be justified, for there were no excess stores, no reserves. The scarcity of food wasn't just about hunger, it was about the constant, debilitating energy drain, the dulling of senses, the pervasive weakness that made every task monumental. Life was a relentless, minute-by-minute battle against entropy, where simply staying alive required heroic effort. In this brutal world, time was a luxury few could afford. The average human lifespan during the Ice Age barely stretched past 30 years. Imagine living your entire existence with the knowledge that your own parents might not see their 20th winter. Child mortality was horrifyingly high. Half of all children likely never reached adulthood. A simple fever, a minor infection from a cut, or a difficult childbirth could swiftly claim a life. There were no antibiotics, no modern medicine, no understanding of germ theory. A broken bone, if it didn't heal perfectly, could cripple a hunter, rendering them a burden to the group, a fate almost certainly leading to their demise. The elders, those rare individuals who reached their 40s or 50s, were living libraries. Their knowledge of hunting grounds, animal behaviors, edible plants, and tool-making was invaluable. But their bodies were ravaged by the years of cold, hunger, and physical exertion. Arthritis, dental problems, and chronic pain were universal. Every individual was a walking testament to extraordinary endurance, having survived countless winters, close calls with predators, and the constant threat of starvation. The Ice Age forced a rapid cycle of life and death, an accelerated evolution where only the most resilient, the most adaptable, and the most fortunate could pass on their genes. Your ancestors faced this compressed timeline, living a full, brutal existence in what we would consider a mere fraction of a modern lifespan.
The pressures were immense, leading to what scientists call a population bottleneck. It's believed that at one point, perhaps only a few thousand human beings remained on the entire planet. Picture it, all of humanity, reduced to scattered, isolated pockets, perhaps no more than 20 to 50 individuals per group, clinging to existence in vast, empty landscapes. The genetic diversity of our species was drastically reduced, a chilling reminder of how close we came to complete extinction. Each small tribe was an island in a sea of ice, its survival hanging by the thinnest of threads. The loss of a single hunter, a child, or a fertile woman wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a devastating blow to the group's viability. If a single disease swept through a small encampment, it could wipe out an entire lineage. If a group faced a particularly harsh winter or a prolonged period of failed hunts, starvation could claim them all. There was no reinforcement from other groups, travel was perilous, and communication between distant bands was almost non-existent. Each surviving individual carried the immense weight of their species' future on their shoulders. Every successful hunt, every new birth, every innovative tool was a small, defiant victory against the overwhelming tide of oblivion. The very concept of humanity was distilled to its rawest form, a handful of desperate souls refusing to yield to the inevitable.
Survival in such a hostile world demanded more than brute strength. It required unparalleled ingenuity. Without the ability to cultivate crops or domesticate animals, our ancestors relied entirely on what they could fashion from the raw materials around them. This led to a stunning explosion of innovation in toolmaking. From simple choppers, they progressed to sophisticated flint blades, meticulously crafted spear points, and sturdy bone needles. Imagine the hours spent, hunched over a fire, carefully flaking a piece of chert, each strike precise, deliberate, transforming a jagged rock into a lethal weapon or an essential cutting edge. But arguably the most pivotal invention was the mastery of fire. Fire was life itself. It offered warmth against the relentless cold, drying damp clothes and warding off frostbite. It cooked raw meat, making it safer to eat and easier to digest, thus maximizing caloric intake. The flickering flames kept terrifying predators at bay, their light creating a small safe haven in the vast darkness. Fire was also the heart of community, a place where stories were shared, plans were made, and bonds were forged. It allowed for longer, more productive days, as tools could be crafted and repaired long after the sun had set. Without the controlled power of fire, humanity's grip on survival would have been far too tenuous to withstand the Ice Age's relentless assault. Hunting in the Ice Age was an extreme sport, where failure meant starvation. It wasn't a solitary endeavor, it was a complex, communal undertaking, demanding incredible cooperation and deep knowledge of the natural world. Our ancestors were master trackers, able to read the faintest impressions in the snow, discerning the age, size, and direction of a herd of woolly mammoths or a lone giant deer. They understood animal behavior intimately, migration patterns, feeding habits, vulnerabilities.
They developed sophisticated strategies. Group hunts involved careful coordination, often driving large animals into natural traps like deep snowdrifts, bogs, or cliff faces. They used atlatls, or spear throwers, which dramatically increased the range and force of their spears, allowing them to engage dangerous prey from a safer distance. Imagine a dozen hunters moving in silent synchronicity, orchestrating a complex ambush on a creature many times their size, their lives depending on every precise movement. They learned to maximize every part of a kill: meat for sustenance, hides for clothing and shelter, bones for tools and fuel, even sinew for thread. Hunting wasn't just about obtaining food, it was a spiritual act, a profound connection to the rhythm of life and death in a world where every advantage had to be earned. While fire provided warmth and tools facilitated the hunt, robust shelter was equally critical for survival. Caves became vital sanctuaries, natural fortresses against the elements and predators. These dark, silent havens offered protection from the biting winds, the torrential snows, and the prowling beasts of the night. Choosing the right cave was an art. It needed to be defensible, dry, and large enough to house an entire extended family or small tribe. Within these natural rock shelters, life took on a rhythm. The back of the cave, deepest and warmest, was often reserved for sleeping. Fires burned near the entrance, providing heat and a psychological barrier against the outside world. Here, skins were tanned, tools were meticulously crafted, and stories were shared around the flickering flames. But caves weren't always available or ideal. When on the move, temporary shelters, like tents constructed from mammoth hides and bones, were painstakingly erected. Those mobile homes, though less robust, showcased incredible architectural ingenuity, providing essential protection in exposed landscapes. The careful selection and adaptation of shelter were not just about comfort, they were about creating microclimates of survival, tiny islands of human warmth and safety in a vast, unforgiving frozen ocean. Even amidst the grinding struggle for survival, something profound emerged from the depths of humanity: culture, art, and spirituality. In the dim, flickering light of their fires, deep within the caves, our ancestors began to create. They painted murals of astonishing beauty and power on cold rock faces, images of mammoths, bison, horses, and abstract symbols. These weren't mere decorations, they were windows into their worldview, perhaps serving spiritual purposes, rituals to ensure successful hunts, or narratives of their existence. Consider the skill and patience required to create these artworks, using mineral pigments mixed with animal fat, applied with crude brushes or blown through hollow bones. This act of creation, in a world where every calorie was precious, speaks volumes about the human need for meaning beyond mere sustenance. They carved small figurines from bone and ivory, intricate pieces that hint at a rich inner life, beliefs, and perhaps even early forms of religious expression. These artistic endeavors demonstrate that even when facing annihilation, humanity sought beauty, celebrated life, and pondered the mysteries of their existence. It was this capacity for abstract thought, for collective belief, and for creative expression that perhaps solidified their social bonds, providing a shared identity and a deeper purpose beyond the immediate grind of survival. Beyond the teeth and claws of predators and the biting grip of the cold, our ancestors faced an even more insidious enemy: chronic hunger and the ever-present threat of despair. Imagine the gnawing sensation in your stomach, a constant companion that never truly leaves, even after a meager meal. The feeling of weakness, the lethargy that creeps in as your body slowly consumes itself. Hunger dulled the senses, slowed reaction times, and made every physical task feel like a monumental effort. It was a constant, debilitating drain on mind and body. And then there was the despair. The loss of loved ones to the cold, to sickness, to predators was a constant reality. Grief was a familiar burden. How did they find the will to continue, day after day, year after year, when their existence was so precarious, so fraught with suffering? Hope, in this context, wasn't a luxury, it was a survival mechanism. It manifested in the unwavering commitment to the group, the shared burden, the collective dream of seeing another spring. Storytelling around the fire, the creation of art, and the rituals that bound them together were not just cultural expressions, they were antidotes to the crushing weight of their reality, vital affirmations of life against the encroaching darkness. One of humanity's most remarkable traits is its adaptability, and the Ice Age demanded it on an unprecedented scale. As the glaciers advanced and retreated, so too did the ecosystems, forcing our ancestors into constant motion. They were not sedentary, they were nomads, following the great migratory herds of reindeer, bison, and mammoths that provided their primary food source. This meant traversing vast, often dangerous landscapes, crossing mountains and frozen rivers, always seeking new hunting grounds and safer havens. Their bodies adapted to the harsh environment, and their knowledge of the land became encyclopedic. They learned which plants could offer sustenance, even in frozen soil, and how to preserve food through drying and freezing. They developed specialized clothing from animal hides, layered and stitched with bone needles, capable of insulating them against sub-zero temperatures. They invented tools for ice fishing and snow travel. This constant adaptation, this willingness to move and innovate, was crucial. It meant that instead of being confined to one dwindling resource, they could follow the abundance, exploit new opportunities, and continually learn from their dynamic environment. Their survival was a testament to their unparalleled ability to adjust, to learn, and to thrive in the face of profound ecological upheaval. So how did they do it? How did a species seemingly ill-equipped for such an epoch not only survive, but eventually thrive? It wasn't just one factor. It was a potent combination of innate human qualities forged in the crucible of extreme adversity. It was the adaptability that allowed them to learn and invent at an astonishing pace. It was the ingenuity that transformed raw materials into life-saving tools and technologies like fire and sophisticated hunting weapons. It was the unwavering cooperation, the tribal bonds that meant no one was truly alone in the fight, that strength came in numbers and shared knowledge. It was the sheer perseverance, the stubborn refusal to surrender, even when faced with overwhelming odds, hunger, loss, and the relentless cold. And perhaps most critically, it was the ability to communicate, to pass on knowledge, to teach the young, ensuring that hard-won lessons were not lost with each generation. These were not superhumans. They were simply human, pushed to their absolute limits, and in doing so, they revealed the extraordinary depths of our collective spirit. Their journey from the brink of extinction to eventual dominance is the most compelling survival story ever told. Now look around you. Feel the warmth of your home, the comfort of your clothes, the abundance of food. Every comfort, every modern convenience is built upon the foundation of their sacrifice and triumph. You are here, listening to these words, because somewhere in your lineage, an ancestor made it through. They survived the blizzards, outsmarted the predators, endured the hunger, and fought off despair. They carried your existence on their shoulders through unimaginable hardship. Your bloodline is a direct, unbroken chain extending back through those few thousand survivors who clung to life during humanity's darkest hour. Their resilience flows in your veins. Their will to survive, to adapt, to innovate is part of your genetic inheritance. It's a profound thought. The miracle of your own existence is a living testament to their incredible strength. So ask yourself again, would you have survived the Ice Age? And more importantly, what does this ancient struggle tell us about the power and potential that still lies within you today?
The Ice Age is more than just a chapter in Earth's geological history. It is the definitive origin story of human resilience. It's a stark reminder of our deep connection to the wild, a time when every moment was a desperate gamble and every sunrise a hard-won victory. The echoes of those icy winds still whisper through our DNA, a silent testament to the fortitude of our ancestors. Their struggles forged the very essence of what it means to be human, resourceful, communal, and unyielding in the face of annihilation. As we navigate our own challenges in the modern world, perhaps there is wisdom to be drawn from their ancient fight. The past still holds secrets, waiting to be unboxed, not just about what they faced, but about the enduring, miraculous spirit of humanity itself. This is the unboxed truth of our survival.